Okay, we're going to watch this video. It's very fascinating. I've got a love-hate thing about Anton Daniels. I don't know about yourself, but I find myself agreeing with probably about 55-60% of what he's got to say, more or less. But then he'll give you that solid 30-35%, which you actually can't stand. Mostly connected to his support of Trump. And it's always that wholesale support, which ignores the fact that Trump is not only against him, but against all other blacks. Now, Anton is a multi-millionaire. He's going to be absolutely fine for now. Well, until the white nationalists are marching in the streets. Oh, sorry, that's already happening. But obviously, he doesn't see that. Let's go.
Y'all are not gonna like this, but I'm saying it. Y'all can say I'm a hypocrite. Y'all can say you can't talk, blase, blase, blase. In this country, the way it is set up, okay, black men need to be with black women. If you are dating exclusively white women, you need to go to therapy, okay, and unpack that self-hatred that you got. Okay, and all the rhetoric I hear about black women are this, black women are that, I don't want to hear it. It's bullshit. There are plenty of black women. Do you know how often black women seek out a man that's not black? Do you? Do you know how often black women seek out men that are not black?
I feel like I'm being lectured here, to be honest with you. I feel like, and I'm not even a person that prefers to talk to anybody. Like, I have no preference outside of black women. You know what I'm saying? I think that all women are beautiful. But for me personally, I have a preference for black women. I think I can learn so much from other people, other cultures, white people, Asian people, Hispanic people, so on and so forth. I think that the world is a melting pot. We're all mutts. And it's funny to me that people define themselves by a color and then a stigma that was given to you by people that didn't even value you. And I think that people should go where they celebrate it and not where they tolerate it. I know plenty of guys that date women that, or even are married to women that don't look like them as far as the pigmentation of their skin, and they are thriving.
Listen, I'm going to wrap up this debate right now, and I'm going to bring it back to actual logic and sense. I think the problem for this lady in the video and many others, they don't take enough ownership of where they're at in things. Okay, so the main things that men look for, the FAB criteria: beauty, agreeableness, and fertility. Those are the main things to be mindful of. And for the ladies, they should be selecting men based on intrinsic qualities. And that is definitely not just because they happen to be black. Basically, it's about where is this person in his life. And I've done other similar videos. That's why when somebody in their 20s, she looks about mid-20s, if somebody realistically and honestly thinks that somebody early 20s is at any stage of his life or is even raised to be a husband at 21, then you've got the wrong end of the stick. And you can't keep failing and getting that wrong again and blaming anybody else but self. A man, especially those who are relatively affluent in their mid-20s, trust me, even they are still going to be playing the field at 25. Mostly, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the majority having lived life as a man. And I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking about all the peer groups I've been around and all the peer groups I've seen and the peer groups of peer groups. Basically, men, understanding men. So you're playing low odds trying to get somebody in the low to mid 20s. It's not just about being black. You need to get somebody who's offering stability, who has that progression mindset. So by the time they get into late 20s, but more realistically 30 or 30 plus, then they're in a stable position in their life where you know what they're about. You know whether they're about hard effort or not. These are the fundamentals that women should be bothered about as the baseline, as the minimum. And then from then, it's about compatibility and all these other nice enough things if you can get it. And to be honest, I think most men of most ages are probably going to have a lot in common with most women. We're going to do watch a bit of TV, watch a few films, listen to give them a bit of music, maybe want to have a dance, maybe want to have an eat, maybe go on a few holidays, maybe follow some sports, maybe follow some fashion, maybe follow some art. We're going into similar areas, there's going to be other things. But if you play low odds, you get low outcomes. It's a long story short. If you just need to be black and a male, you set the minimum bar, well done, you played yourself. And if he needs to be in his 20s and you're expecting something other than the reality, then you played yourself again. And if he's in his 30s, he can be in his 30s and have achieved absolutely nothing in his life. And if ladies pin their futures to somebody who's achieved nothing in his life, then you get the outcomes that were right in front of your eyes. And you got to take ownership of it. And it's, again, goes beyond skin color, for goodness sake. And just to finish off, I can't stand this double standard. Say if a white lady went on there and said, well, she's only going to date whites, she'll be absolutely slammed. And I don't believe in double standards, I'll be honest with you. So the fact that she thinks it's okay to put out that kind of video is toxic and bullshit.
So for her to give this narrative about whatever the structure is that's set up in this country that prevents you from being or living your full life is bullshit. Whatever this construct is, this boogeyman thing that y'all think that y'all living back in 1842 or something like that, that you think for whatever reason something is oppressing you, I think that that's all just running in the victim Olympics. And if a white person was to say the same exact thing that she said, guess what? Black people, black women in particular would be labeling that person as racist and as a culture vulture and as a whore or something crazy. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta let go of this shit. It's been passed down from generation to generation of people that then keep perpetuating this narrative and saying that for some reason we need to be divided against each other instead of celebrating and embracing whatever it is that you can get. You know why black women don't exclusively date out? Is because most other cultures don't necessarily rock with what you present yourself as. The women that decide that they want to date out of black men, which you can do whatever you want to do, I don't care. I think that people should go wherever it is that they want to go. But the reason is because if you change to who you are to fit whatever it is that that person desired, because let's be clear, men have access to marriage. Men are the ones that choose. Then you would get accepted or you would actually be picked or selected. But you're too busy saying what you don't want. You're too busy being racist. You're too busy being negative. You're too busy telling people what they should and shouldn't do. And it's not conducive. It's not beneficial. It's not helpful. It only seeks to separate us so that you can then tell people that they need to follow you to the polls to vote Democrat because you on a plantation. People need to go where they're equally yoked. And being equally yoked has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It has everything to do with the content of your character. That's just the flat out truth. There's plenty of people that are thriving, and I mean absolutely thriving, that date within their culture, that date without that culture. And so we got to stop this narrative thinking that you have to. And somehow you're self-hating if you decide that you have a preference to date based off of whoever it is that you want to rock with or proximity, because I also know a lot of guys that grew up in cultures that wasn't primarily or demographically black. They grew up in environments that was predominantly white, and they were loved. If you ever want to see what a bunch of love look like, then go to a Trump rally. Go as a black conservative and then go to a Trump rally. They will shower you with praise. Straight up, real talk.
It's just gone too far again. He's talking about Trump rallies being a welcome place. Trump has repealed all the equality legislation. It's gone actually beyond America into the rest of the world. And there'll be no federal contracts for anybody else who also promotes DEI. At the same time, when you look at his cabinet, and he's got white males who don't have the experience or expertise, and they've gone in at the very top job. And that is a contradiction right in your face, and you're blinking to it. He's not playing fair, quite obviously. He's okay, he's a millionaire, but what about everybody else that needs an opportunity for a position? DEI does not help black people primarily. We're about 5th or 6th on the list. And it still helps white people, helps white females. But the dog whistles out there is who he's really going against when he's talking about DEI. It's the blacks. People who look like him. And that's why it's disgusting, because it's blanket discrimination. He just can't see it. Sometimes I wonder, there's a black general who's talking about George Floyd, and he reflected on his own experiences of discrimination, but he stuck with it and he worked hard, and eventually he got to that position. And then he got sacked for talking about his experience. That could be anybody in that general's position who's worked his whole life to be the top of the field, and he gets sacked over some bullshit. Disgusting. Disgusting. And he's so blatant with it that the fact that this man Anton can overlook it and look himself in the mirror, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. The cognitive dissonance for this person is just staggering. But there's a familiar pot of stupidity where they create this straw man where Democrats are at fault for everything as well. Obviously, you can't be a Democrat or you can't be left-wing and also pro-police. You can't be a Democrat and stability of society. Of course not, according to him. But one thing we are sure of, there are certain lines you can't cross in terms of equity and values. Okay, one of the core values, he calls himself a Christian, one of the core values is maybe those who are most wealthy in the world should help those less privileged around the world. We're in the UK, we're 6th richest in the world, and it applies to us too, but not as much as the #1 country, which happens to be the States. Now, as a Christian person, the USAID. Okay, so for every person in the United States per day, I think I worked it out to be something like 30, 40, maybe 50 cents per day, some token amount for every single person in the United States. But the magnified impact that it has around the world in the poorest nations where the power of that dollar can change and save lives is dramatic. And he's got nothing to say about it because he's too blinkered. I'm not religious, so I don't have to jump through that hurdle. But when somebody says that they're religious and at the same time they don't mind people all around the world struggling whilst they live in affluence, it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and that's only the start. Anyway, let's go.
Even in this day and age, when they very much should be, they should just be like, you know what, and go get something else. If we lived in a perfect world where racism and Jim Crow laws and racism didn't exist, I wouldn't give a fuck. Because then love could be love. But at this, where we are right now, I heard this. Deontay Kyle said it, but I heard it before I heard him say it. You have a low racial self-esteem. It should be an honor.
These people take their talking points from other people on the internet that don't have nothing to do with what it is that they're talking about. Real talk.
It should be a privilege to be with a black woman. It should be standard. It should be traditional to be with a black woman for black men. And I know y'all gonna be like, oh, but Amber, I was lost in the sauce. I did not know no better. And I always take it.
Is that a kid in the background? Is this a single mother? Let me rewind that a couple notches.
Black men. And I know y'all gonna be like, oh, but Amber, I was lost in the sauce. I did not know no better. And I always take it. I always go, you know what? You're right. I did it wrong. I did not do what I am preaching to do right now. I did not do that. I know better now. When you know better, you do better.
Oh,
and
she heard.
There's not a man right now that's better suited for me than a man that is black.
Oh, okay. So, and I'm assuming here, so give me a little bit of rope. Now that you are a single mother and you are no longer tolerated from different cultures or the men that you dated, for whatever reason, now you're putting your trauma on other people. Now, again, just give me a little bit of rope. I'm assuming here, and I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong. You're now putting your issues on other people because that's who you choose to exclusively align yourself with because you don't feel accepted by a demographic of people that you used to date. And now you are no longer talking to, in a relationship with. And again, I don't know. I heard some babies giggling or something in the background. Now, all of a sudden, we are required to pick you because it is a privilege, according to your words, to be in your presence. You the prize. Is this a prank? I didn't expect to hear the baby in the background. Is this a prank? And again, I don't think it's anything wrong with black women. I love black women. I love all people. I love the right ones. I don't like the ghetto ones, but then I don't like the ghetto people of any culture. But again, this is a projection. This is an issue. This is a perspective that's being levied, but doesn't necessarily align with what the truth is. And so they take their talking points from other people. They don't really have any real thing to stand on except for the same racist trope. Man, I wish slavery never happened so that y'all could actually get something else to talk about and stop being victims every single fucking day. It is getting so irritating. It is getting irritating.
Listen, it's all guesswork and I really don't know. I think since he's brought up the kids thing, I think that ladies have realised, or this particular lady has realised that if she thought things were difficult before she's got kids, now she has to arrange childcare, she needs to look after the child's welfare, the timing has to be right, her energy has to be right, he has to be up for an instant family, there's other stereotypes, you know what I mean? So there's going to be complication to presenting a package of mother with child. Especially if, and we don't know, you know when you see those videos where lady goes out and says, not only do I want you to support me from this first minute of our first date, I want you to support my child as well. They need some formula. You know what I mean? So I don't think she looks like the kind of girl who's that stupid, but I think that ultimately she is struggling. And I think in watching other videos, she's thinking, yeah, maybe our own should accept our own baggage and all, basically. So I think a child is a blessing to that person. You know, you walk down the road, you see somebody, cute little child, that's their blessing. It is a blessing, it's their blessing, it's not our blessing. You know what I mean, realistically. So baggage, basically, long story short. And I think there's lots of other videos which, instead of reflecting on self, reflecting on making sure you got yourself together, making sure you're agreeable, making sure you're maximizing your beauty, make sure you're optimizing the things that men look for, aka the FAB criteria, and you are trying to facilitate this date. You're coming with baggage, basically, so you're not looking for him to take you on 1,000 expensive dates. If anything, really, you should be taking him on a date. You know what I mean? With a goal that in the future you can lead this family, not expecting him to do that for something which is not his family, realistically. But anyway, I think other videos have taken it to the wrong path instead of the FAB conclusions, which would actually help her. If I was to mention anything, there's no effort from self, there's no blaming self, there's no optimizing self ever in any of these videos. And that's what I find problematic, because it's not going to change anything. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You know what I mean? They just want the world to change to them. The world doesn't have to change, but she has to be more competitive within that dating market. And it doesn't sound like she's ready for it. I mean, she looks gorgeous to me. You know what I mean? So she has that potential. She looks quite young. She's still going to be fertile. She's beautiful, as I said. She has to work on agreeableness potentially and go from there. And a lot of women in that situation, they have children and they hardly ever go out in order to meet people. And if you hardly go out and you hardly meet people, then where do you meet people? And if that continues and you never meet somebody, then all of a sudden the years tick by, age catches up with you, and now those FAB criteria, fertility's off the list, and things get even more complicated, basically. And I think in the brains of most men on a biological level, it is towards having your own family. So the older that she gets, on a biological level for most men, it's like, well, maybe not her. You know what I mean? Or I think for some reason culturally you assume that the older somebody is, they're probably going to be with somebody, a husband out there or something, which, long story short, means it's less likely you'll actually be approached. If you're gorgeous, you'll get approached no matter what. But again, you're playing short odds. She's not getting the advice she needs from him. She's not getting the advice from many other videos. She is getting the advice from this video, which is why I'm doing it. Also, please, everybody else who's watching this, if you've got advice for her, then let's put it in the comments. Anyway, I'm out.